Fox News Alert, we are awaiting a White House briefing set to start at any moment. We'll take you there when it starts. This is Bill Clinton facing new questions about an old scandal. During his book tour, the former president was asked about Monica Lewinsky. Watch.
Through the lens of Me Too now, do you think differently or feel more responsibility?
No, I felt terrible then, and I came to grips with it.
Did you ever apologize to him?
No, yes, and nobody believes that I got out of that for free. I left the White House $16 million in debt. You are giving one side and omitting facts.
Mr. President, I'm not trying to present a side.
You asked me if I agreed. The answer is no, I don't.
And I asked if you'd ever apologized, and you said you had.
I have.
You've apologized to him.
I apologize to everybody in the world.
Joining me now is Kristen Soltis Anderson, Republican pollster, columnist for the Washington Examiner, and author of The Selfie Vote, and Mo Elleithee, former communications director for the DNC and a Fox News contributor. In one way, folks, it feels like it was a long time ago, but this moment in history in 1997, 1998 was quite consequential, and it is being looked at in a new context in the year of 2018. And how do you think Republicans looking at this, especially younger ones, Kristen, how are they looking at it? And is it different from how Democrats are, or is this all different because it's generationally different?
Well, I think the world has changed an awful lot in the 20 years since this story was first splashed across the headlines. In fact, the way that we think about sexual dynamics in the workplace, men and women, how they interact in the workplace, has changed a lot in the last year with the rise of the Me Too movement. But that does not in any way excuse the behavior that Bill Clinton engaged in. And I'm frankly astonished, this idea that he's presenting himself as a victim in this situation. There is only one victim in this situation. And that's Monica Lewinsky. And the fact that, people think of Bill Clinton as this fabulous politician, and yet he seems to be so mishandling this moment is just astonishing.
Well, he is, Mo, he has a new book out that he's written with James Patterson, and we actually have James Patterson on the show later this hour to talk about that collaboration. But take a listen to what he said in that interview this morning when he was asked about Monica Lewinsky specifically.
You think President Kennedy should have resigned? Do you believe President Johnson should have resigned? Someone should ask you these questions because of the way you formulate the questions. I dealt with it 20 years ago plus, and the American people, 2/3 of them stayed with me, and I've tried to do a good job since then with my life and with my work. That's all I have to say to you.
Mo, earlier you saw in that first clip that Bill Clinton was asked if he had apologized. He said, "I apologize to everyone." But Monica Lewinsky just tweeted this from an article in Vanity Fair in which she said, this is from a few months ago, in which she said, "Though I wish I had made different choices back then, I stammered. I wish that you and your office had made different choices too. In hindsight, I later realized I was paving the way for him to apologize, but he didn't. He merely said with the same inscrutable smile, 'I know, it was unfortunate.'" I guess, you were the DNC communications director. I know you have a lot of thoughts about how to address something that is unpleasant and difficult to handle. How do you think he's handling it today?
I don't think he handled this interview particularly well. To me, it would have been an easy recommendation to him when the question comes, as it did from Craig in that first clip that you played. Do you feel differently about it today? He said, "I felt terrible about it then." Asked, did you apologize? Yes, I apologized then, and I apologize again today. My actions were inexcusable. He has said those words many times over the years. He should have said those words again today, full stop, rather than get into an argument litigating it. Look, the notion that Bill Clinton hasn't paid a price, one could argue being impeached was a pretty big price, but I agree with Kristen, he was not a victim in this situation. He should have just said, "I made a mistake. I apologize to her then. I apologize again today. Full stop."
and then be able to move on and talk about this book collaboration that he has. Kristen, the issue of hypocrisy comes up over and over again. And look, I think Chris Starwalt says hypocrisy is what makes politics possible, but it is frustrating, right? So you see what happened in the late 1990s and even throughout the campaign in 2016 with Hillary Clinton being asked about her husband's past actions and their reaction to it at the time. Are the Democrats still dealing with a hangover effect of that decision back in the 90s?
I think so. I think this is a part of the generational divide that you mentioned earlier. I mean, we saw in the Democratic primary back in 2016 that a lot of young women in the Democratic Party had big problems with what they viewed as Hillary Clinton's either complicity or excusing of her husband's behavior, which so clearly violates these norms of how we think women should be treated in the workplace. And what you see is, and I think both parties are extremely guilty of this, of enabling and empowering leaders who they think you're an eloquent, articulate person, you can achieve the policy ends I want. So I'll excuse all this bad stuff that you have in terms of your character because I just want to see, us get some political wins. And that's just, it's saddening and it's heartbreaking and it happens on both sides.
In the meantime, Mo, I've got to go, but I'm assuming you're watching with interest the midterms tomorrow.
Yeah, I think what we see coming out of California tomorrow could help decide what the actual battleground map looks like in the fall. So it's going to be a big day.
Well, we'll have you back to talk about that. Kristen Soltis Anderson and Mo Elleithee, thank you.